This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by Love My Ness, our honored Patreon backer and Switch Knight.
Hi everybody, I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, the podcast for the Nintendo Switch Centurion. And it's the big episode 100 special super Feliz Año Nuevo episode.
Oof, you are too white to say that. Just kidding. I'm really excited. It is the new year. We hit 100 episodes, so this is pretty much 2 years worth of SwitchCast content.
Very much so, yeah. We've caught up, because even though early on we didn't do episodes every week because the Switch didn't exist, we have made up for it in side episodes and a few other little bonuses that we've released. So having 100 episodes in around 2 years is pretty cool and pretty good, and I'm just glad to see that we're still doing this and everything's caught on and as fun as I had hoped, and everything's kind of like, just come together. Absolutely.
The community is rocking, the podcast is going strong, and we've had a lot of really great episodes and really great guests in the past.
Yeah, but you know what's funny, JV? Yeah? No matter how many guests we've had on, there's two very important guests of ours that have never crossed paths before.
That's true. I believe we have a couple of guests that would be really important and would be great to have on this episode.
Well, I mean, I always have my fill-in for you is a lass by the name of Rin, who comes on here with her positive attitude and saccharine nature. And she balances out the fact that you leave this place sour and bitter half the days that you're here.
Casey, yep, And whenever you're gone, I always have my roommate David to join in, because he's the one that I most share gaming experiences with. Also, he lives with me, so it's very easy to get him on board.
That's true. So, what would happen if we actually got them in the same room, so to speak, together at once? What would it possibly sound like?
Same room is nearly impossible, but for our special episode 100, we have our two special guests here at the same time as us.
Hi!
Hello, everyone. I'm David the roommate.
I'm Rin, the saccharine one. What the heck? Come on.
That's so weird.
Casey.
I was like, Casey,
I think that's perfect. I mean, that laugh alone just kind of says it all right there.
I know I cackle, but come on.
It was all I could do to not laugh when you were hitting the nail on the head with Justin.
Oh, man. Okay.
I'm just saying you're great. A sweet lass to have on the show and a bright change of pace.
I love how you're always calling me a lass, considering I'm like almost the same age you are.
I call every girl a lass, pretty much. So it's not. Don't think of it as just you. I call most ladies I know.
It's not just because you mistook me for a teenager the first time we met.
Well, it is, like I said, when you never see people face to face, you fill in details in your brain biography of them.
I got too many gray hairs for this.
To be fair, the very first time I met you, Rain, I thought you were a teenager too.
I'll take
and that's
it for
actually
a
compliment.
I'll take it for
Absolutely.
a compliment.
It is definitely a compliment. You're definitely exude a youthful energy, even though you do curse like a sailor, which I am 100% proud of as well.
You're welcome.
So I guess I'm just like the youngest person here, because I was a teenager when you met me.
Ooh, don't even say that. That's weird.
You feel old now?
A little bit, but not as old as these two folks. So yes.
Anyway, hi Rin.
Hi.
I haven't seen you in a while.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We have actually met before, I believe, yes?
Yeah, it was at Worlds. Pokemon Worlds.
I remember you two met at Pokemon Worlds 2014 or 2015?
2015, I think.
2014,
One of those two.
Actually.
2014.
It
It was in
2014
DC.
in Washington, D.C.
Speaking of which, we will likely go to Washington, D.C. for Pokemon Worlds this year.
Are you? I haven't made up my mind yet if I want to go yet or not.
Yeah, if so, I mean, if you can make it a day trip, that'd be cool to hang out. Maybe Casey can drop by too.
We can all have multi-battles, like bring all of our favorite team types.
Yes. I remember that Pokemon Worlds, you wrecked my Steel team, and it made me sad.
Well, I had a Fire-type team, so I mean...
I was gonna say...
Yeah, that's true.
That goes with, when you make a theme team, you're gonna have, like, that 1 out of every 5 battles that if their theme team is just the counter, you're gonna be in trouble.
To be fair, you did almost wreck me because I got careless.
It's true. It was a very close game, but you have a history with your fire Pokemon.
Is that still is that the same team that you threw against my problematic ghost team?
No. Your frickin' Parish Trap team.
Rude. So rude.
Oh, that the way you said that is the song. That is the Parish song. That is actually the lyrics of it right there.
Oh, frickin' Parish song. Oh, frickin' Parish song.
Oh, it really is.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a good time. We all have a lot of history here amongst us 4, and I'm glad we were finally able to get us all in the same recording. This is a big deal.
And then the world exploded.
We're going to have a very special episode that we're going to go through, especially because there's not a ton of news this time of year, because everything just kind of came out and everyone's like preparing to make their new announcements in the new year. We're going to go and take a retrospective, basically, and look back at what our favorite things of 2018 were, and possibly 1 or 2 things that we're looking forward to in 2019. But before we get into that, just a couple quick announcements for everybody. First off, next week, I want to talk to the community about what their favorite stuff from 2018 was. So I've already set up a survey that I'll link to in the show notes, and I'm going to post it everywhere, Facebook, Discord, Twitter, for the SwitchCast Choice Awards. And it's your chance to vote for what you think is the best game of 2018 and the best Nindy of 2018.
I remember last year this was relatively controversial, so I'd like to see what you all think of 2018's picks, and we can discuss that in the next episode.
Yeah, and there's a lot more picks. It was very hard to make the submission form. It was like the last year, we didn't have like a ton of choices for titles. But this year the Switch is in full swing, and there's more titles than I could even possibly list. So I just kind of picked like 20 cream of the crop titles, but I left an option for anyone to fill in titles that maybe I missed. So you can vote for any game for those 2 categories. So just check it out, leave your vote, and I'll give out the tallies next week.
Yeah. Now, speaking of which, we're actually releasing our original Switch Topics Legend of Zelda episode to the public.
Yes.
This used to be a Patreon backer-only episode, but now it's out to the public, and we're switching it off with the new Will, A Wonderful World episode.
Yes, so that's on YouTube right now. Again, I'll leave a link to it, but if you find the SwitchCast on YouTube, you'll find it there, and it's 2 hours of us talking about every aspect of Legend of Zelda with a big focus on the story and the characters. But yeah, it's just a real freeform thing. It should be good. And if you like it and you want to hear more episodes like that, you might want to consider becoming a Patreon backer, because we have 1 more episode there. And I am already planning the next Switch Topics episode, which will be 1 of 2 possible titles. If I actually finish Octopath soon, I will do that. And we have some people who are also still talking to me about maybe doing one on 2064 read-only memories.
Oh, that game.
Yes.
That one's the cyberpunk visual novel 8-bit style game, right? The pixel art game.
Yeah, very pixel art, point and click adventure-y.
That's the thing. Switch Topics are really, really good episodes to delve into stories of things. So if you have any other recommendations for future Switch Topics as well, let us know, and we'll consider making an episode of for some of your favorite games.
As long as it's something that I'm probably going to play and beat.
Right. We can't promise all the games, but if we're just as passionate about it as you are, we'll do it.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to do one on Persona 5 probably, because I will never beat that game. I will never have a chance to beat that game. It will just never happen in my lifetime.
Oof, I don't know if we can be friends anymore, Casey.
JV, I've never played a Persona before to completion. All right, you have to accept this about me.
That's true. That's like the black mark in this entire podcasting duo. I'll ignore it.
In Casey's defense, those games are a huge time sink.
They are. Yeah, that's true. But, Persona's great. Have you played any Persona games ever, Ren?
I actually have not.
Oh gosh, who are you people?
Shun the non-believers.
JV, I think it's now time that we look at you as the outsider of this topic.
It's okay, I have David here, we both played it. So, it's 2-on-2. Take you guys on.
SwitchCast Civil War.
No, we're supposed to be the Avengers. We're supposed to be friends. And that's what we're here for. Episode 100 is friendship. Episode 200 is Civil War.
Okay, that's fine.
Despite this very nonsensical and funny episode, we definitely would appreciate any sort of reviews that you guys can provide us, either through Apple Podcasts, Google Play. It's a really great non-monetary way to support us and expand our community. That's really our biggest goal with these podcast reviews would be to try to get our podcast to as many ears as possible. That's the best non-monetary way to do it.
Help us hit 2019 reviews in 2019.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, lofty goals for lofty people.
Yes, gotta aim, shoot for the moon, baby. All right, let's take a break here. We'll go into our main Switch focus of the week, and let's take a look back at what made 2018 so great.
Flashback.
Switch Focus 2018. The first, I would say, general opinion of 2018 was the year that I feel that Switch came into full being, right? Like 2017, we still feel like we were waiting for the library to build up, right? Like we wanted to review what our best RPG of the year was, or the best FPS, but there was only like 1 or 2 titles in every real category back then that mattered. Now that's not the case. Now it's like you actually have a selection in every possible genre to have a discussion like this. So I think we can go into some pretty interesting depth about what we have to talk about here.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Now, I do have to say, I was a little bit skeptical about 2018 coming into it. Since 2017 had Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, had it closed off with Mario Odyssey, and for the first few months of 2018, I was kind of unsure about how, if there were going to be any big games that the community can latch onto. But instead of those big tentpole games that really define that year, the Nintendo Switch for 2018 has had a consistent flow of really solid, smaller games. Not necessarily top Nintendo craziness, but from third parties, from indies, the indie scene. There's a lot of really good games consistently coming out throughout the year, and that's what really sold 2018 for me.
Rin, David, what were your overall opinions of 2018?
I actually played a lot more Switch this year than I ever did in 2017. Don't get me wrong, it had some good games, but like you were saying, this is the one where all the good big titles that I had been waiting for finally came out. And let's be honest, it's not a Nintendo console till it has Smash Bros. On it.
That's fair. That's fair.
I certainly played more Nintendo this year than I did previously, but a lot of my favorite games were already out, so I was more playing them with new updates, like Stardew Valley's updates and Minecraft updates and all that stuff came out. So
that's actually really true, since 2017 had a lot of games that got updated in 2018 and refreshed the gameplay of it. So that's actually a really good point.
The main thing we talked about last year was whether or not third parties were going to fill in the gap of, because 2017 was carried by those huge tentpole Nintendo titles. But now I guess when we look back here, we're going to take a look and see how many of the titles that we picked are third-party games, and so how much did they actually step up as we were hoping to? And which category do you want to lead off with here?
I feel like we should start off with platforming. Just because, Nintendo is very well known for its platforming. It's in its blood, it's in its roots. Let's start with that one.
All right, so I'll kick things off because I think mine is most obvious here. I made a very big fuss over how off guard I was caught by Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I never would cared for the Donkey Kong Country series before. Not that I hate it, it's just a thing I'm not a platformer guy. It's really not my genre. But this game kind of surprised me with how cinematic and like action hero-y every level of it felt. I felt like every stage was choreographed with a unique set piece. At least one moment where you're jumping around and stuff's happening in the background in a way that makes it feel very cinematic and exciting. And it still had just a little bit of that exploration, but not enough to slow down the forward momentum. It was just overall like just totally jaw-dropping.
Right, and it's actually a really good thing to bring up because Tropical Freeze came out on the Wii U, and it was a very well received game on the Wii U, but the console itself just wasn't as popular as it could have been. So it's getting a new life on the Switch, and I really think that giving it a shot would be worth it. Now, for me, I feel like it's absolutely no surprise to anyone to say that my favorite platforming game of 2018 is Mega Man 11.
Oh, okay.
You would.
Yeah, I totally would. So, I mean, as the Switch was releasing all of these Mega Man Legacy collections, like the original Legacy collection and Mega Man X Legacy collection, I was always just reliving all of the past love I've had for these Mega Man games. But once they announced that a new Mega Man game is gonna come out in the original styling, I freaked out. And as soon as the game came out, it was just love at first touch, or love at first play. The platforming is exactly the way it was before. The levels are just refined to more modern stylings, modern aesthetics, modern play styles, but utilizing their classic mindset and classic physics. And the dual gear system that they included in Mega Man 11 just added an extra dimension of weird abilities you can combo with. It was just such a great game, and Mega Man has always been in my blood, so I dug it a lot.
Rin, did you have a platformer of preference this year?
Well, I got the X Legacy collection, because nostalgia, which was very good.
Nostalgia's the best!
Although I think so far my favorite platformer on the Switch has been Mario Odyssey, easily.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's just it's just such a well-tuned, well-refined game that it has a really broad appeal that a lot of people can love.
For me, I have to give it to Kirby Star Allies, just kind of going off that nostalgia trip you guys were talking about. Kirby is one of my favorite franchises just growing up, and to finally have like a nice high-def, on the big screen TV home console Kirby game to play again made me so happy.
Yeah, it's just has such a positive energy, and it's like, Kirby, so
it's impossible to not feel like all warm and bubbly inside when you're playing Kirby.
Yeah, which is saying something, because David can get pretty salty when it comes to games.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny that, no.
Yes, so
The Missus is very similar to that, and I feel like I want her to try a Kirby game because, well, that has like the co-op play, right?
Yes,
that has the multiplayer.
Yes, it's very dedicated to co-op.
Like, I like the idea of playing co-op platform with her, but B, Kirby mitigates like that like when we're playing like the new Super Mario Wii, right? That was like the last like platformer we really played heavily. She would like she's on the brink. You could tell she wants to throw the controller at a wall, but just knows that like, no, Casey will be sad if I break his controller, so I'll just restrain it. But if it was my controller, this would be shattered. You know, like, I feel like Kirby could sidestep that, because he never really does that to you. He always keeps things like fun and flowing.
For the most part, yeah. That's another game I really want, but I don't want it badly enough to pay full price for it. I've been waiting. I've been keeping it on my wish list and just waiting for it to go on sale.
Yeah. Personally, I love all of the different abilities you can have. The ability combo system in this game was incredibly fun. Like, when I found out that I could turn into a curling block and slide my way down the whole level,
I remember that in the demo, and it was great.
That sold me on that game so hard.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, just the sheer aesthetic and just how fun Kirby appears and all of his little friends and allies that you can play as. That is the embodiment of fun, and I would highly recommend picking that up if you can get it on sale. If it's at $20, it's a steal. $30 maybe.
Rin, do you want to pick the next topic?
Favorite RPG?
Okay, so what RPG did you find most enjoyable 2018?
Well, I think this is going to be pretty obvious, but Pokemon.
Yeah.
Pokemon
Is that what you picked too, David?
That was my second choice, was going to be Pokemon.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, no one can deny Pokemon.
Of course.
I mean, it's Pokemon.
And we already had our Pokemon episode, so y'all already know my feelings on that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, when it comes to Pokemon Let's Go, it's such a revolutionary game in a sense that it's the most inviting game of the franchise, I think.
Definitely.
It really is. And I don't know if this is sort of off topic, but I picked that one as my favorite strategy game this year. I know it's a little bit easier than most strategy games, but it technically counts. And I enjoyed the game enough, like, all the different changes, such as being able to see the wild Pokemon just in the grass, as opposed to walking around looking for random ones.
Definitely
Game
my favorite
changer.
change.
Absolute game changer.
They need to keep that in just all future Pokemon titles.
And and I gotta say, I was incredibly skeptical about the catching system. And I have to say, I don't want to fight a Pokemon again unless it's a legendary for catching.
Especially if you're just like getting like a Caterpie or something. It's like, do I really have to go through the like press tackle before I can, catch this thing?
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat as Rain. We did that whole episode with our opinions, but to give my short and long of it, yes, I do think that it's just amazing to finally have a Pokemon game on the big screen, right? On a home console that we can enjoy. And it's finally good to see a Pokemon game that does something new with the series. Right? Even though it's not like it didn't change the story, they didn't change the general flow of the game, but they added features that have taken the series off the totally familiar ground, which is always a good thing. I still want them to do more different things, but I'll take it.
And even just the tiniest details, like the fact that you can check the IVs of a Pokemon from the stat screen immediately, is great. And I really feel like the Pokemon Company will take all of the positive feedback that people have towards Let's Go and bring that into Generation 8.
Yeah, Eevee and Pikachu definitely felt like they were testing the waters to see what they could do with the Switch hardware and going into the future of the Pokemon series. Because it did need a little bit of I don't want to say like
kick in the pants.
I guess freshening up maybe is a good way to say it.
Yeah, a tur wash.
Yeah, kinda.
A bit of a tur wash.
So David, what was your RPG of the year?
I have been waiting forever for Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, which I thought it was still going to be Double Cross at the time, but then they surprised me with the wonderful announcement that it was going to be a new Generations game packed to the brim with all the monsters, but the only one that super mattered to me was the Volfolk to finally come out. And I've been joking with Justin about how I would travel
Volstrax!
Volstrax, okay, thank you. Yes. I need to call it by its proper name now. I've been so used to calling it Rocket Dragon for so long.
See, the only reason I didn't name that is because I really don't consider Monster Hunter RPG.
I'm in that boat. I wasn't going to say anything because, he's a guest and I'm not here to challenge his choices. But I do have this argument very often. Every game's on a spectrum now, so everything has RPG element. But I do always feel like it doesn't feel right in that category as an RPG.
So, well, we can discuss it even more in the action section when we get to that later. But for me, my favorite RPG of the year is a re-release of an old RPG, The World Ends With You.
Have you
guys played that at all?
I played it
I played it back in
the day, right? So it's a really, really weird game that came out from the Kingdom Hearts people back on the DS. And once they brought it over to the Switch, they kind of take away the dual screen elements of it and streamline the game quite a bit. But once I started playing this game again, it just reinvigorated how much I loved it. It's essentially kind of a alternate post-apocalyptic dimension where these people are in their other realm that can't be seen by the current people who live in Japan right now. It's hard to describe. There's a lot of stuff that I'm trying to withhold because of spoilers. It's one of those games,
right?
But
it's a very interesting plot with a lot of like mystery about what's even going on,
right? And what is really striking is just how intense the art style is. It's very Kingdom Hearts mixed with Splatoon with a sort of dark, edgy attitude, and I just loved reliving that game on the Switch.
I just like that they modeled Shibuya so much that they even have a Tower Records in this game.
I know! It was
I used
great.
to work at Tower Records, and I saw that in there, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Except it's Tower Records.
Tower Records. It's really good. And I don't think we went to Shibuya, didn't we?
Yeah, we passed by there.
So when we went to visit Japan, we actually went to Shibuya and we saw the masses of people on the streets, and I was like, oh, so this is the streets that you ran through in The World Ends With You. Mm-hmm. It was super cool to see all those crowds and all the shops. It's laid out very, very similarly to the real Shibuya, so I was very impressed.
Almost every JRPG has Shibuya in it. Like,
yeah, but like Shibuya was the center of The World Ends With. So it's one of those games that if you have the time and you like the art style, I would recommend picking it up.
My RPG has to be by far Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, no surprise there.
Yeah, I went and I shelled out for that collector's edition. I loved everything that they included in there. I love that pop-up book that came with it. It was like the coin that I'm holding it right now. It's like part of my permanent like carry with me, like just a souvenir.
Like a trinket, a token.
It's a trinket. It's a treasure I keep with me. It's like a good luck charm and a reminder of my adventures there. It captures everything that I loved of some of my favorite DS RPGs are the Bravely Default games, mostly because the art style's great too. There were always great characters in those games, but I love digging into the job system, which was really, really deep in Bravely Default. They simplified it here, but they also fixed the fact, I feel like in Bravely Default, you almost had to figure out the broken strategy of every new job you discover and then just made the game pretty easy for a few hours because you now just crushed everything with whatever combo. This toned the power down, but also made it free that you can experiment with your characters. With every mix had some benefit to it if you could just learn different combinations of support skills and main skills. And the characters themselves they actually managed to make all 8 of them characters I love. They have cool stories, they have great personalities, and they're all so different, but they still are all
compelling.
They're all very compelling. And I loved just the way of doing 8 different stories that are less weighty individual, but I just feel like it's a little more down to earth and not the world ends with these
with
8.
you.
The world ends with them. Yeah.
I have to say, I remember when this was announced in either one of the E3s or the Nintendo Directs. We saw this game previewed, and I immediately thought that this was a KC game. This is going to be KC's RPG of 2018 unless something comes out of the blue and replaces it. But they
showed it in that first Nintendo Direct for literally 3 seconds. And we knew, I knew this was for me. You say, oh, that's a Casey game, whatever. And I was advocating whatever this game was. I didn't even know anything about it. I just knew this was going to be good.
Oh yeah, and it was, and it's your RPG of your favorite RPG of this year. So it lived up to its promise. I'm glad about that.
All right, so next category, I guess. Does Dave wish to pick?
Sure. Let's go with action game. In which case, for me, it would definitely have to be Starlink.
Starlink. Yeah.
I love myself some space games.
Yep. That's your wheelhouse, I think.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
And I I got like a miniature Star Fox game inside my space game, so I was double happy for that one.
Now, you have a history with space games, like you loved Freelancer, you've loved...
Mass Effect, even though it's not really a piloting game.
Yeah.
I've been playing Everspace recently.
Yeah, Everspace is one. Yeah, we're going to be reviewing that in a future episode. And, you know, like Star Fox, just a whole bunch of space games in general.
If there's a spaceship, I'm playing it.
Yeah, so Starlink would definitely scratch that itch, didn't it?
Yes, it absolutely did. And I did enjoy just how easily you could transition from place to place in that game. Like there was no real loading screens, and I thought that was beautiful because it basically took what No Man's Sky was trying to do and then put actual content into it. I think I might have said that during the Starlink episode.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And there was definitely a lot of, you know, personality and fun customization that you can do there. And, you know, the actual combat was pretty fun.
Yes, the combat was solid. The ability to swap weapons on the fly was really useful, even though I mostly just use the R-Wing lasers.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard not to,
like, when I have that option, you know, I have to be convinced to use something else.
Despite it being short, and I'm sure you can get it on sale nowadays, I do concur. Starlink was fun for what it was.
It was very good. If they ever do make DLC, I will immediately play it.
Yeah.
I think it's justified for that game.
It's a short game, but it was fun.
Nice.
Now, I guess since I've already been talking, I kind of commandeered your choice. What was this topic? It was action/fighting game,
Action
right?
or fighting game.
All right, so my favorite action/fighting game. Now, I will acknowledge that this is a completely subjective choice, and I'm 100% sure that there are better fighting games on the franchise, or on the system, but my favorite action game of the year was My Hero One's Justice.
The setting and theme were that important to enjoyment.
It's the My Hero Academia fighting game. It's an arena fighting game that's kind of similar to the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm games, which are also kind of my guilty pleasure too. So the fact that they were able to bring that style of gameplay into the My Hero Academia world and fine-tuned it so that it's actually more of a strategic fighting game instead of just like a button-mashy, spam your abilities fighting game. I was surprisingly impressed by this franchise game, and I played it a lot. And if Smash Bros. Didn't come out, I think this is the fighting game that I would have played the most this year.
I think you'd still be playing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I will take this moment to remind our listeners that, yes, indeed, we are not claiming any of these are the best games of the year. We are merely listing our favorites. The best is something that we can talk about in another type of topic matter.
Right.
We are just here to tell you what our favorites are for whatever reason we wish.
Yeah, man, I friggin' love this game. You guys can not hate.
Is it because it has justice in the title?
That's like 20% of it. Yeah, it was great. I had a lot of fun, and I'm sorry. It's true.
Well, I'm going to go with, for my favorite action game of this year, is something that I probably spent a lot more time with than I thought I would. It got me hooked, and it even breaks my very vocal dissension with procedurally generated games. But Flint Hook totally took me in with not just his style, but the action style, the jumping, the grappling hook, the weird mix of pirates and space travel, and the music and everything. It felt like a Mega Man style action game. The levels, even though you're randomly generated, made sense. You had some control over which stages, obstacle types you would take on. And you unlocked new bosses as you went. But I also definitely wanted to at least pick one good Nindy here. Obviously, I could have very easily picked Smash Bros. Ultimate for this section. I think we've talked a ton about that, so I wanted to definitely... I guess I'm just kind of preempting it for the sake of mentioning a game that I think I wanted to get a chance to talk about a little bit more. True. Because it's been a while.
Now, I am surprised. I guess it would fit into the action genre as well, because I thought Flint Hook would be a bit more of a platformer, but you know, action platformer, that's a thing, so
I guess you could say that. Because it wasn't linear, so I guess I don't think of it as a platformer, but you're right. It kind of has a bit of that, but it's a lot about the other shooting. So yeah, I guess it also kind of.
And you know what? It's our podcast. It's episode 100.
Right.
We can do whatever we want.
There you go. Spectrum.
Yes. It's all a spectrum, really.
Rin, what's on your spectrum?
I think Monster Hunter. Duh.
Yeah, there you go. You and David.
course.
Digital high five.
Of course. The only reason I didn't spend more time on it is because I'd already played like 100 plus hours on the 3DS version, and I just transferred it over to the Switch. So.
Yeah, but the fact that it's on the Switch means it's more accessible to so many people who might have been intimidated playing it on the 3DS. Mm-hmm. The dual stick really changes a lot, and some people didn't have the new 3DS to play Monster Hunter Generations on.
I specifically got a new 3DS to play 4 Ultimate when it came out, and
because you are a Monster Hunter nut. You are a Monster Hunter nut.
Monster Hunter was definitely a huge deal coming out on the Switch. I've played more of it on there than anything of any other of the series. The only problem with my advancement is now I have so many friends to play with. Every time I level up once, I now end up logging on. I instantly get pulled into helping like 20 other friends rank up.
Oh no, you just have too many friends, Casey.
I know, it's such a weird problem.
I can relate to Casey's predicament here. I've had that problem before.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well,
it's like every time I log on, like, all right, it's me time. I'm going to advance my rank. And then like someone else, hey, Casey, help me get up to rank 4.
See, this is why I solo stuff. So I can be selfish.
I still enjoy the multiplayer with them, but yeah, I do want to someday get to a level where I can fight like the crazy stuff with them. The only thing that annoys me is when I help people rank up and then they don't play anymore, right? Like, I'm fine helping you rank up, but you gotta pay it forward, and you gotta be part of my team to help me, us all go up and rank.
Like, you spend all that extra time, like, oh, here, I'll help you carry these eggs to the thing so you don't get murdered and you can get this over with. And then when it comes time for, like, oh, hey, we're gonna fight the rocket dragon, just crickets everywhere. No one wants to join in.
Well, why don't you be more active in our Discord community? You'll have plenty of people to play.
Okay, maybe I will. I don't have infinite time in the day, Justin.
True. You can spend an infinite amount of time on Monster Hunter. I gotta say that.
Hey, there's time warping involved in that. You don't know.
Getting people for rocket dragons.
One of those games. I said I could have nested. I could have nested with Monster Hunter. Totally could have been the only game I played this year. I'd be happy with it. All right, I'm going to pick a category because it's the kind of category I don't even know if anyone else even has something for it. But tabletop/board game. Did anybody else get into anything that might be like, tabletop-y on the Switch?
I don't think so.
Not really.
I guess I have one. I did play Hand of Fate 2, which kind of counts as a tabletop game, and that surprised me as well. It's essentially a kind of what's that? Yeah, edit that out. So it's kind of a roguelike type situation, but it's a bunch of cards laid out on a table, and you're traversing each card, which represents an encounter. And as you proceed, you can level up your characters, get more items to handle harder and harder encounters in the future. And I just thought that system was really cool.
So it's sort of like a digital Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, exactly. And even at Gen Con, if you recall, they had Hand of Fate 2 there physically with like...
I do remember that now that you mentioned it.
They were playing Hand of Fate on the tabletop game, but it's actually a digital game. They just had that special event at Gen Con, and I thought that was mind-blowing.
Mm-mm. Well, since there's only you and me then who have actual entries in this one, I'm going to take this chance to at least mention 2 games. Well, my favorite one, though, definitely is Armello, which was the Game of Thrones-y type animal world with a 4-player board game with a pretty cool system where the characters would go and you'd have, places to go on quests while you power up your characters. You can interact with each other pretty interesting ways. You can make alliances to team up and maybe, stall somebody who's kind of running away with the lead. There was some good politicking and multiple ways to win the game. After you powered up, you could either try to kill the king, you could try to gain corruption and use the powers of evil to kill the king, but then if there's a player who's focusing on like holy magic. They're going to really wreck your day. Or you could try to defend the king and be the heir apparent when he dies of natural or, corruption causes if you can keep anyone else. It was really cool. And there's a lot of cool expansions with new characters that have come out and different special abilities. The artwork is awesome and the abilities were great. It feels like a total real board game.
Yeah. So it's essentially Game of Thrones.
Oh, I'll give it to you.
No.
Yeah.
Don't give
I'll
him
give
that.
it to him.
No.
Kind of. Okay, you can give it to me.
No, I'm going to be a
David
bigger
takes
man
it away.
because JV, 100%, no matter how good mine are, he just can't bring himself to acknowledge how good my puns are. But I'm not gonna return his anger, and I'm gonna give him a pass.
All right. Thank you. How about you, Rin? I need your validation as well.
Yeah, you're the tiebreaker.
Drag me into this.
Fine. It's a tie.
Honorable mention, the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, which is a great tabletop experience for one player in a D&D type setting with old school D&D art. Lots of scripted events, choices to make in the plot. Characters unlock, replayability, lots of paths to go. It just feels like an old, like 80s style D&D campaign for one character. And a pretty good story at that. So that's all I'll say. It was a nice, fun little diversion for a while.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
So back to you, JV, for picking a topic.
Now, for something that's kind of, I don't think anyone else really played that many of this genre. I'm picking favorite FPS. And for me, I am picking Wolfenstein 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, I believe it came out around June. It's already been out in other consoles, but bringing it over to the Switch was a big deal. This is a very mature game where you're fighting Nazis in a post-apocalyptic setting. And it's such a viscerally mature game, and you don't get that feeling on the Nintendo Switch very often. I found the change of pace and the sheer maturity of it to be a refreshing feeling on the Switch. The shooting mechanics feel really solid with the Joy-Cons even, and to start the game, you start off on a wheelchair shooting down some baddies in a hidden facility. So I thought that was pretty great.
Hey, don't go into too many spoilers here. This is I actually didn't get to play a first-person shooter this year, and I was going to pick that one up.
Well, that's just the first 5 minutes, but...
Okay.
Wolfenstein 2, it's such a great example of how companies can port modern, recent games over to the Nintendo Switch without losing that much fidelity, without losing enough fidelity for which the game is spoiled.
I always said, it was the first game where I started noticing, you know what? If you never looked at the other systems, you would never notice the difference. And even if you did, you might, but only if you played them totally back to back. You would not notice it if you only were playing the Switch version. You would never feel like you were missing anything. Right,
exactly. And it still looks great on the big screen. It looks great on the handhelds. There were a couple performance dips here and there, but nothing consistent. So I thought it handled so well for what it was trying to accomplish. Doom kind of touched on that previously last year, and Wolfenstein, for me, hit it out of the park.
I gotta go with, though, the popular default pick for this. I got hooked on Fortnite pretty heavily when it came out.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's a third-person shooter, but whatever. It's still a shooter. But no, it's whatever. Shooters.
It's a shooter.
This is our episode, Casey.
It's the closest thing.
Yeah.
Fortnite I guess if I had to pick a first-person shooter, the only one I played was Paladins, which was good. Not great. I'm still going with Fortnite as my choice here. I definitely could see why it's such a phenomenon. Not only is it a free game, it's a really great concept. I love the costumes. I love knowing the map. I like the ability to just jump in, and if I get killed in the first 5 minutes, I don't care because another match starts pretty quickly. But the best thing is getting the team mode. When I was playing with 3 friends and we're just like a squad, and you get a little bit of that chemistry going, and maybe somebody knows how to build things better than the others, and just you have those moments to share with people, because it's one thing when you have those awesome, incredible battles on your own and, you know, you tell your friends about it. It's another when your friends are involved in it and, you know, they actually see you save their lives at the last minute, or you all get mowed down. Even getting mowed down together by someone you never saw is still kind of enjoyable when it's like you all got killed together.
Definitely. Now, I do have to say I have a lot of personal problems with some of the mechanics of Fortnite, but it is undeniable to say that having a game like Fortnite on the Switch is incredibly validating. It's one of the biggest, most popular games right now. And Fortnite mixed with something like Minecraft really makes the Switch inviting for the younger audiences nowadays. So it's a big deal, regardless of whether you like the Battle Royale genre or even Fortnite specifically.
All right, we're back to Rin for category selection.
God, I haven't played any of these ever left. Alright, so what was your guys' favorite strategy game? Because I don't think I've played any that I would classify as a strategy game. Maybe Pokemon? Does that count? Not really.
Yes, David did that.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Pokemon counts. I know it's kind of easy, but it's technically turn-based strategy.
I guess.
It really is. And you know, since we are dedicating Pokemon a bit of time for both of you guys to pick Pokemon, I have to say they removed a couple of the elements of Pokemon that added a lot more complexity to it.
Yes.
But I did love that each of the encounters, like each of the gym encounters, each of the master trainer encounters, legendary encounters, I love that each of those really had more thought put into the fundamentals of Pokemon.
Yeah, and I will say, like, the master trainers and coach trainers and everything, they actually did have some challenging ones in there that were like, this is what an actual player would build, as opposed to just, like, you know, the random NPC you're supposed to steamroll.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and like even Misty's gym. Oh, yeah, right, Rin?
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go for it.
I've been trying some of the master trainers, and wow.
They're hard, right?
They're freaking hard. I'm gonna have to grind up so many candies. Yes. I went for the Kabuto one because I figured that one would be easy, because I know Kabuto gets Mega Drain, right? Which is like 4 times effective. And Kabuto was easy, so I went to Kabutops, right? And I was like, oh, I'll just do the same thing. Nope.
No.
It's kind of like they expected the easy strategies when you're encountering specific Pokemon, so they tailor the encounter to go against that.
Definitely.
Like, Gyarados had, like, a Thunder
or something like that.
Yeah, Thunder or Thunder Shock. And, you know, you're going into that fight expecting, you know, to just fight him as a Water type, but having that Thunder attack that's 4 times weak to your Gyarados is really nuts.
Right.
They do lots of cool things with
I just know I'll be super well prepared when I get around to Ninetales, because I've captured, like, you know, 600 Vulpix trying to find a shiny, but I still have not.
Yeah, yikes, sorry. But I do like that they included the whole Master Trainer system. It does add a lot of thought in strategy and or brute force to the game.
I've been watching. I don't do a whole lot of multiplayer myself, but I watch a lot of people who do multiplayer, and I've been watching people who've been trying to do competitive Let's Play. You know, Let's Play Pikachu and Let's Play Eevee.
For Let's Go?
Yeah. And they, as much as the game has been pared down, like removing like a lot of the Pokemon choices, all the abilities, and there's no weather, and there's all those changes. It makes the battles less about team building, although that's definitely still a majorly important thing.
Right.
And more about, you know, understanding getting your opponent to do what you want them to do. Like,
that's
how
actually
to maneuver
really cool.
and play mind games and all that sort of thing.
So they're really...
You know, the thing I see that it mostly does for the long term is just the fact that it zeroes out the game back down to its most basic elements, allowing new generations of people to be able to grasp the strategy. It's really hard to tell someone to start playing chess like 360, like playing chess against like Kasparov or something. You can start playing it with like, you know, low level difficulty, less complicated moves, and then eventually get people built up to, like, you know, maybe in a couple of generations, maybe they'll incorporate, you know, something new, or they'll, you know, put weather back in, stuff like that, or abilities, so that eventually people can start grasping those things. Or they'll go in a totally different direction with this series and just add their own special features.
I do love hearing about what your experience with the competitive scene and watching them play. Just because, you know, competitive players can make anything competitive, really.
Yes.
And the fact that these competitive players were able to take Let's Go and turn it into a tactical mind games type of battle really sounds exciting, and actually kind of makes me want to look into it a bit further.
I will give you recommendations later if you want some.
Yes, please.
Okay.
That's great.
And I told you I'm getting that draft going at work, right?
Yeah, that's really that's a really good idea.
Everyone wants to do it, and I feel like that's its own level of strategy. Is just the picking from this select group with a few new twists, especially with the Alolan variants. You know, something new to consider.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Speaking of which, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
SwitchCast Pokemon tournament?
I feel like it should happen.
I want to do a draft tournament. Actually, I'm thinking.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, I feel like it needs to happen.
Definitely.
Maybe next week, not this weekend, but maybe next weekend I'll start, or before then I'll start signups and see who's interested. And if enough people are interested, we'll definitely start one next weekend, perhaps.
Anyone who steals Magneton from me is banned from the Discord. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Dibs on Zapdos.
Just gave everyone else the strategy to win. That's it. The biggest strategy game I played this year, and it was 3 games long, so I didn't get to play all of it, but I love the mix, was the Banner Saga. And
oh, right.
This did a lot of things, especially for like a tactics style of strategy game, which generally like reuse a lot of the same gameplay mechanics, and you know, they just have like a few, usually like, here's some abilities, here's your magic points, and here's the hit points you have to beat. They added a few things that seemed subtle at first, but actually came to change up the entire way I fought battles, and especially the way they had like the feature where regardless of how many people are on each team, it's always one person from my team, one person from the enemy team goes, and then back and forth until you get down to the last guy. Then you could all, like, you know, gang up on him. But it encourages, and it doesn't make a lot of like sense in terms of story, but it does make sense in terms of like making the gameplay interesting, in that you don't just have to do the usual gang up and beat one enemy down and then move on and beat the next one target down. You have to kind of like spread out the damage, and you spread out your forces in a way too, so that you try to like just kill everybody off in like one turn rather than just, you know, whittle the enemy down. And it's kind of an interesting thing. It just kind of fits this whole Viking theme,
right?
Of like not just picking on the weak guy. It's like, I always want to hit the strongest enemy.
And I really loved the idea that all the choices you make in the story affects everything in the future. And while a lot of games have that promise, I feel like Banner Saga really fulfills that promise more than a lot of these other types of games.
It completed it in the same way as like the Telltale games did, where, yeah, there were definitely story decisions that led to character deaths or certain characters teaming up with you, making alliances with certain people. You would face totally different stages, and it even did more than, let's say, the Telltale games, where everything always kind of like evened out sooner or later. There would always be like choke points in the story where everything would always kind of get back on track where the developers expected. And here, it makes matters a little bit more, because you can keep, you know, the characters you recruit, that's going to be the team that you're fighting with for the whole game. And sometimes you don't get compensated because someone died, but sometimes you want him to die for a plot reason that might make sense. Maybe you feel like, no, I need him to do this in the story, and the game doesn't always reward you for that. It's just like you did it because you felt it was the right decision.
So you really like these Game of Thronesy style games, Casey?
I guess so. I mean, like that just seems to be a byproduct of where they put this kind of story.
Yeah, for sure.
In this case, at least. I wasn't crazy about the Game of Thrones Telltale game. Which I played on,
that's like
I have my own issues with that one.
Yeah. That's it's its own thing.
But this was a little more focused on like, just the really cool Norse story, and the world it was set in was really cool with the giants and their horns coexisting with the humans, and there was a little bit of that political stuff, but I don't know, it really captured a cool, unique feeling that a lot of games don't go for this kind of setting.
Yeah. So for me, on the opposite end of the genre spectrum, my favorite strategy game was Into the Breach. Now, I'm sure you guys know by now, I love my mechs, and this is a turn-based strategy where you control mechs of various abilities, fighting against kaijus of various abilities. And just hearing that, it's definitely a JV game for me. What I loved about it was that it is always set in a fixed 8x8 grid, but every single permutation of that map is really different. And really forces you to adapt to the situation and adapt to how everything is laid out. The main crux of the gameplay that I loved was that all of the enemy moves are telegraphed before they happen. So you can already plan out what moves and how you want to react to things and what you need to prioritize to protect. And that's type of thought process in a strategy game felt really unique to me. And so I absolutely loved it. It's overall, it was such a great experience. It's a roguelike, so it has a lot of built-in replayability, and the games themselves didn't take very long, so it's a very pick up and playable game. It's one of those games that I revisit all the time whenever I just have a idle moment.
Yeah, it's a good one to pick up for.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, David, do you want to go down the casual puzzle route, or shall we go to horror?
I actually did not get to play much casual or puzzle games. There was one horror game I played. It was Outlast 2.
Oh, that's mine pick too.
Yes. I personally, it's a perfectly fine game. I'm just slightly desensitized to all the horror game tropes at this point. So,
right.
like, nothing really caught me by surprise. It wasn't super suspenseful. But if you are into horror games, you will absolutely like Outlast 2.
Yeah, I was incredibly surprised at the sheer graphical fidelity of it.
That was a good point.
When I was playing the game, or when we were playing the game, I was really taken aback at how good it looked. And I completely forgot that it was on the Switch.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like there were any visual or graphical sacrifices that were made to fit a portable console.
That's a point we seem to keep hitting on every one of these genres, is that, like, the Switch is not a weak game console in terms of hardware. Like, it can handle these big, high-intensity graphical games. And that's something people I've heard, like, criticize the Switch and Nintendo in general over in the past, and I think that argument needs to go away now.
Pretty much. It's definitely not as strong as the PS4 or Xbox One, but it has enough graphical capability that, it's not going to be lacking when it needs to.
I mean, especially in something that's a
feel
hybrid
we're at a
console.
point where, like, we're at such a diminishing return for higher graphics. Like, graphics are really good now, like, and on most systems, and even the portables now all have like pretty good graphic capabilities. So, like, even when they double or whatever they do to the graphics from one system to the next, it's less and less noticeable, or less and less matters, and it's more about what you do with what your system is capable of, and just making it look like it's not trying to look like what the other system looks like.
And that's really the beauty of Nintendo games. Like, all of their art decisions and art choices are made so that their games look the best on whatever console they're on. And a lot of those art styles live on even today. Like Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy still looks good today, just considering the hardware of the console at the time. So I just feel like after, you're right, after a certain point, graphics aren't necessarily the be all end all of your enjoyment for the game.
Yeah, aesthetics are always more important than like graphical fidelity. Like,
yeah, definitely.
You take like look at like past games, and you take, like, I don't know, let's say Mario 64 versus GoldenEye. GoldenEye tried to be realistic. It failed.
True.
It failed miserably.
Oh boy.
And especially looking at it today, right?
Yeah.
But Super Mario 64 still looks decent,
Right.
Despite being very cartoony, because it was cartoony. It is better to aim for a style and hit it than to aim for realism that you can't reach.
Right, and consider a game like Okami that lives and breathes style.
Oh, yeah.
That cell shading.
Yeah, and you did the review on Okami, yes. Rin, and you loved it.
I love
and
Okami.
That is an old game. Yep. It came out on the PS2, and they only really updated the graphics so that it wouldn't seem as blurry.
About the only thing they did was up the resolution.
Exactly. But the art style lives on, and if you have a really strong art style and very, very good game mechanics, you can just keep re-releasing your game, and people will come back to it and love it all over again.
Mm-hmm. Or you can be Bethesda.
Skyrim.
It's on the Switch now.
Yay!
Yeah.
It's on my toaster now.
My horror game of choice, actually, I don't think I played one until just last week. I'm sorry, I did play, I remember reviewing one of the Resident Evil titles, but those have started to feel more action-y, and, they haven't really scared me in a long time, except for, maybe some really intense action scenes. But I think the most horror-driven game I have of late has been Viviette. This just came out last week.
I have not heard of this.
Yeah, it's an indie, and it's a it kind of has a similar graphics as almost like a Chrono Trigger, it has 16-bit graphics, and it recaptures for me what the original Clock Tower game was about.
Oh.
So you're in a mansion, and you're trying to unravel the mystery of what happened to your friends, and your sister's in there too, and she starts acting all batty, and then all of a sudden she starts hunting you with a knife in the mansion, and you have to go around and explore and solve puzzles, and she's just there wandering around the mansion looking for you. She's not she doesn't home in on you, and if she walks into the same room as you, you can turn off your flashlight and you could just kind of hide in the corner, but that's very nerve-wracking because you can't, you just feel safer seeing her, but seeing her means she sees you, and now she chases you, and she can, murder you on the spot. So you so often have to turn off the light and just listen and hope that you hear her footsteps go away from you rather than towards you. And it creates very tense moments, hoping that she didn't see you. Sometimes you realize you didn't, hide fast enough, or she caught a glimpse of you and she murders you in the dark. And there's always that tension. No matter how focused you are on a puzzle, you have to keep your ears open. Did the door just open? Is she in the same room as me? Uh-oh. Go into hiding, and and it's just this constant tension. She's not so annoying, she's not so onto you that you can never focus on a puzzle, but she's just always there, and it's always looming, and sometimes you feel she just shows up at just the wrong time, and it's a pretty good, so it just focuses on this one monster, so to speak, that's pretty crazy, very scary, great ambiance, and there's pretty hard puzzles in it so far. It's a pretty intelligent game. It's not super long, but it's a...
See, that's the type of horror game that I would be looking for. I'm getting lost in all these games like LS2 that they focus so hard on the shock value of oh, look at all these scary monster people we have.
Oh, look at all this bloody gore everywhere. Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, but they forget to focus on what actually scares people, and that's the suspense and the tension of moments like that. The scariest thing is the thing you can't see.
Right.
That's the type of horror that
I do have to give Outlast 2 some credit. They're definitely upped the aesthetic and the tense factor of Outlast 2. But I have to say, Casey, you definitely gravitate towards the pixel-based horror games, and I do not blame you. Especially when it comes to the pixel-based art style in a horror aesthetic, there are a lot of details that your brain fills in when you're dealing with pixel graphics. Mm-hmm. And, you've mentioned this when reviewing horror pixel games in the past. Nothing really scares you more than your brain, and pixel art can really invoke that type of feeling if you just let it.
And I think this one focuses really heavily on the sound, which is another aspect that I think a lot of games
freaky.
Yeah. like just listening and hearing things happen, and then the music is very like creepy and not distracting, but it all comes together pretty nicely. So I'll probably even give it a full review next week.
Now that we're in this topic, Rin, I have to ask, you've played Minecraft a lot. There are horror moments in Minecraft, is there?
Well, not so much to me personally now, since I've been playing it for so long.
Right,
but like years back when I was newer at it, having a creeper sneak up behind you would definitely scare the pants off of you.
right, because you're just building away, you're just doing.
I didn't
doing
realize
your thing.
how scary those creepers could be, or the Enderman can be.
Oh yeah, they're creepy.
Until I played Minecraft story mode, and they really drove home like how terrifying those things can be in some situations, especially one where there's a scene where you have to disguise yourself as one of them, and you're just kind of like wandering into like a horde of them trying to like do something, and they're slowly catching on to what you are, and they're starting to like stare at you a little more, and it just like it builds like a really creepy moment in that.
Yeah, they didn't used to make the noise that they're associated with now, but when they added
really?
in and you looked at one of them, it was scary.
Yeah, especially if you haven't never expected
right?
that type of
if
noise
you didn't
before.
know that they added that sound in, and you just accidentally looked at one and it made this horrible sound. And its face stretches.
Even if you expected it, though, like the patch notes could say added sounds to Enderman,
and you're like,
but you're never.
But then,
yeah,
and
it's fun that they can add those moments.
The best one is when you look at it and you don't realize you looked at one of them, and you just hear this sound as you're walking away, and you're like, oh crap, where is it? Ah!
And this is in Minecraft, so it's really cool that they can add stuff like that to it. Very cool.
Other than, all right, so for the final category, in casual puzzle, did anyone play anything other than Way of Sushi Striker? Is there any other titles that anyone's played in this category?
That was my pick. Sushi Striker was my pick.
I don't think I played any. I'm trying to think.
I mean, but other than Sushi Striker, I mean, I only played it for a couple of days on a rental and just to like kind of review it, and I mean, it was really fun. It had a good storyline, actually, even though it was very kind of like anime, Saturday morning cartoony kind of stuff. It wasn't too bad in that respect. It was humorous. It was a good battle system. It was pretty fun. I mean, I didn't play it much more after that, but I mean, as far as puzzle games, there was that, and I can't even remember what the other one I might have played. Oh, right, and in terms of casual games, there was that Pokemon Blocks game.
Pokemon Quest.
Pokemon Quest, yeah. That was the only other casual game I think I played.
Oh,
I do have to
I did
say,
play that one a little bit. Forgot about that.
Yeah, it's pretty forgettable. So I do have to say, Sushi Striker, it kind of resonated with me a little bit, just because one of David and I's most more guilty pleasures is that we like to watch those, Saturday morning style anime where there's like a world that's centered around this one game, and everyone in the world loves playing that game. So, and that's essentially what the Sushi Striker storyline is. So, I dug it in that sense. Like, we watch Vanguard Buddy Fight, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon.
Are you gonna start watching Bakugan soon?
No, but it's a thing now. Like Beyblade, I've had a history with Beyblade. Those style of shows. Metabots. Sushi Striker just fit right in, and it was a very nostalgic experience, even though Sushi Striker never existed in the past.
Rin, why don't you give us the quick rundown of what happened in the other favorite casual games of ours that might have gotten some updates this year?
You mean like Minecraft and Stardew Valley?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, Stardew Valley just recently got their multiplayer update. I think it's 1.3 now, which also added some stuff for the single player and story and that sort of thing too. I haven't done any of the multiplayer yet, so I can't tell you too much about that. But I've just been going through seeing the new events with the villagers and doing stuff like that. They added like actual like treasure and goals into the endless mine, which is nice. I need to do that yet too.
Nice. No, that's a big deal though.
And they added
the fact that
they added a new event to the winter schedule, I guess you can say too. So
because it was a little bit more sparse before, right? Sparse, bare bones.
Yeah, a little bit
during the winter. A little bit.
Yeah. Because they had like that one. They had like the Christmas event in winter, and I think that's it. Aside from the new one they just added.
So I'm glad they're fleshing that out, and it's really nice to hear about that stuff, especially since it does take up a pretty good amount of our community. A lot of people really love revisiting these essentially single-player games, but in a multiplayer fashion.
Mm-hmm. And Minecraft got its big Bedrock update this year, right? Right. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, the
2018,
servers.
like the first 3/4 of 2018 felt like it lasted 4 years.
No kidding.
And October lasted a week.
And that was the one that added the crossplay with the Xbox version and PC and started the whole phenomenon this year. We had that whole running theme of, you know, Nintendo and Microsoft playing well together and Sony running off in the corner, not wanting to play with anybody else.
They were making so many jabs at Sony
great
on
meme
Twitter
and
about
joke
that.
for the year.
Yeah, no kidding, Rin.
But yeah, they basically released a whole new version of Minecraft for Switch, which if you had already bought the previous one, you got to download for free, but it is a completely separate thing in the store now.
Wow, okay.
It's called Minecraft Bedrock Edition. Bedrock is sort of the combined Windows 10 Pocket Edition, Xbox, PS4, and now Switch. Is all one thing.
That's really cool. Can you port over your creations from one to the other?
No, but if you have like a world uploaded to one of Minecraft Realms servers, you can all play on it no matter what system you're using.
That's good to hear. Yeah, overall, I'm just really glad that these games exist on the Switch. Alright, so I thought it would be fun to, get out of the genre pigeonhole that we are stuck in and do kind of quick fire, rapid, fun categories that aren't really the typical categories we go over. Let's go and just start with the first one. The first one being, what's a game that you thought you'd hate but actually enjoyed?
For me, that was Mario Tennis Aces, because it turns out I was horribly misinformed about what Mario sports games were about.
Yeah, Mario sports games are fun.
Yeah, I thought they were just like regular sports games with Mario paint job, but no, there's a lot more there.
Yeah, all the special abilities and all that stuff is great.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I thought I would hate Paladins, but I actually enjoyed it. Like, when you see Paladins originally, you think, oh, hey, here's a cheap knockoff of Overwatch. But
yeah, actually.
It kind of still is, but it's still an enjoyable experience despite being, Overwatch inspired. Maybe.
You just like it because there's a robot.
There was a Gundam robot, and that sold me to it. I'm not gonna lie.
My pick, surprisingly, would be Sonic Forces. I wound up enjoying it a lot more than I thought it would. But mainly because it was unintentionally hilarious.
Those are the best, though. Those are absolutely the best.
It's as if someone made a Harry Potter game based on My Immortal. It is a 13-year-old's terrible self-insert fan fiction, and it's so bad it looped around to being awesome.
That actually kind of makes me want to play it.
Not
gonna lie.
Do not pay full price for it. But
no,
if you can get it on a good price for a nice, discount, go ahead and get it. It's not as terrible as I thought it would be.
I don't have a Sonic OC, but once I make one in Sonic Forces, you guys better not steal my OC.
Is it going to be a robot?
Can you make a robot? Can you make a Mecha Sonic?
Just in Metal Sonic is a thing.
Yeah, but can you do it in the custom creation?
Oh, I don't know.
They have an option for like robot eyes for the characters,
yeah.
And they have
Good
like
enough.
metallic looking armor and stuff like that you can put on them. So definitely, yeah, you can make a robot.
Don't steal my OC, guys. That's it.
Oh, you know what? The game I really wanted to mention for this was Earthlock, Festival of Magic, which was a RPG that I played because one of our listeners bought it for me to review. They swore like, no, this is really like, this is like a unheard of little sleeper hit. You really got to try it out. And I looked at it and it looked very much like a generic 3D RPG, with some like pretty plain looking characters. So I was kind of like, oh, well, they bought it for me. I guess I'll try it. And I was preparing to give like a lukewarm review. I really clicked with it though, because it kind of intentionally tries to look like an old school, like not old school, but like a 90s like Final Fantasy VII era RPG. Yeah. But it added cool mechanics with the characters that partner up and they can share certain abilities depending on which pairs they have. And the world was really cool. It had this, you know, the different races of animal people all over. It felt like a really nicely developed world.
Yeah.
And
that
nice
does seem
system.
really surprising, yeah.
It was one of the games I wish I had time to beat, but it's an RPG, so I couldn't. But it was a lesser-known RPG that I thought was worth people checking out. So
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because that's actually kind of my pick for the next subject.
Oh,
which was
really? Okay.
Game you thought you'd love but hated. I didn't hate it. It's more like, in my case, it's more like game you thought you would love, but didn't as much as you thought you would. Let's put it that way. Okay?
Yeah, no, that's
because I did really like Earthlock, and I really, really want a plushie of Nart because he's so freaking cute.
That's a name. Hi, I'm Nart.
Yes, Gnart. He is a hog bunny.
Oh, he's the little pig rabbit, right?
He is
the hog bunny.
He is a hog bunny. He is half hog and half bunny.
And he's
freaking adorable. Anyway.
He is adorable, and but he's a sophisticated intellectual.
Yes, he's a scholar.
What a Nart.
Yes.
Anyway,
I get like a Mad Hatter vibe
the
from him.
reason I didn't like it as much as I thought it would is because it's obvious that this game has a ton of world building put into it, and they've been releasing like little bits of lore onto the Switch News. But the story of the game itself does not touch on any of that much at all. And it feels like such a wasted opportunity. So I was a little disappointed by that.
Right. The story, like there's that world, but you have to kind of go out of your way to learn about the background rather than just learning about it organically as you play the game. Yeah, I hear you.
So, do you want to break Casey's heart a little bit more? So, the game I thought I'd love, but ended up kind of hating, Pocket Rumble.
Oh, okay. No, that's fair. That's fair enough.
You know how hyped we were about Pocket Rumble for a while, and then other fighting games came out, and then we were having fun with those, and then Pocket Rumble finally came out.
That's the one that was in development hell for a while, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was, especially of the Switch version.
It was supposed to come out like a couple of months after the release of this system, but got pushed back for over just about a year, actually. Yeah.
And so I've been playing it. Like when it first came out, I was playing it a lot, Like, I was like, okay, I'm hyped for this. I like it. I'm not liking it that much. My thumbs are weirdly tired. I'm starting to not like this. I kind of hate playing this game now. That was just a progression of how I felt about Pocket Rumble.
My thumbs are weirdly tired.
There was something about it that made my hands hurt, too. Like, I did notice that maybe it's the way the holding buttons for the moves and you just push too hard when you're in like tension battle mode. Yeah, but I definitely got like sore wrists from it.
I think it's the weird amount of like switching of pressures that you have to do. Like you have to hold, tap, hold, or hold, tap. Like it's just a weird combination of things. Now I can recognize that it's a good game. And it really has the fundamentals of fighting games built into it in a streamlined fashion. I just can't stand it anymore. Just can't.
I'll stand by it. I totally can understand why someone wouldn't click with it or didn't like it. I did like it, and I did get a lot of play out of it, though. So I was satisfied, even though the year hype definitely was more hype than it was worth. But I just needed to get it out of my system and play it. And it kicked off a lot of fighting game enjoyment for me thereafter. So
that's true. It did lead to you digging into other fighting games overall. So, yeah, it's a benefit in this world. I'm glad it existed, even though I hate it now.
You know what? The game that I was a little disappointed in, and I tried it my best. It kind of feels like a similar line. Actually ended up being, again, I didn't hate it, but it kind of fell a little flat for me this year, was Mario Tennis Aces, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can still see it. I can see it.
Yeah, like I was really hyped about this being like a really cool tournament scene and just having a lot of fun, varied battles. But it just turned out to be way too, like, the actual gameplay really boiled down heavily on those trick shots and the fact that the character balances weren't, like, you know, I feel like they ended up being too important, the character choices. And I don't know, I guess the competition just wasn't as interesting or as casual as I was hoping. And when people got good at it, they just got so good that it made the skill gap
too wide.
Not fun to surmount.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to play this dedicatedly to get good at it. I just wanted to enjoy it and have fun like a Mario Kart.
Yeah, see, this is where perspective matters, because I went into this like not knowing anything about Mario sports games, and I didn't super love the game, but I actually had a lot more fun with it than I thought I was going to. Where I guess you had a different experience.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, the first few weeks and even months of Mario Tennis Aces had those problems. And apparently they have had a lot of balance fixes that really tapered that down recently. But, you know, as reviewers, we kind of have to move on from game to game.
Yeah,
we
right.
can't really review it. So I can understand your experience. It might not necessarily be the same experience that someone would have now if they pick it up.
Right.
But we're talking about what we've gone through. So
I hope I don't get crucified for this one, but I don't like Mario Party.
What?
It's just entirely too random. Like, I feel like I'm not in control of anything going on in this game.
That's the point of Mario Party.
But then what's the point of playing it?
I know. No, I know. I get you.
I feel the same way, David. It's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you know, Mario Party is very easy to bring out to a casual audience, and it's one of those games that I kind of like. I'm kind of annoyed by all the randomness, since I know that I don't like randomness in board games in general.
Yeah, like...
But it's one of those things where, like, you know what, I'll play this with you because you're casual and we're playing a video game together, or whatever.
Yeah, like, when one person, like, rolls the maximum possible roll they can possibly get, and they're already right next to the star that you have to collect, they grab the star, and then Toadette floats over to literally just a spot that's already along their path, and they roll up and get another one. Just like, okay, guess I'll stop playing.
Yeah. And, you know, it wouldn't be such a problem if it was like a shorter game, right? Like,
yes,
you're
but it takes like an hour.
Right. You're investing 30 minutes to an hour in a single game, and you can't have randomness be that much of a factor in that long of a game where someone can be like, well, they've won this. They just got like 3 stars in a row, and I'm like still trapped on this little corner here. Well,
yes, exactly.
I'm out.
I feel like if they made the minigames matter more and the star collection matter less, that would be better.
That could help. Also, if the games are like maybe 20 minutes long, that would be better.
I mean, you can tweak it from 30 to 90. So I feel like that the time limit is fine. But if they just made the mini games matter more, I think that's fine. Like the Mario-thon.
We're gonna get too involved in this.
Anyway, Mario Party, yeah, that's it's casual fun.
All right. Favorite graphics, aesthetics?
I'll start this one off. So I want to give a quick shout out for the Dragon Ball FighterZ game. Now, I mentioned that my favorite action fighting game was My Hero One's Justice. But Dragon Ball FighterZ really captures the 2D aesthetic of the Dragon Ball anime, but allows it to live in a 3D world, which I absolutely adore.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. Arc System Works is really good about making 2D fighting games look 2D, but then shift perspectives like a 3D game whenever it needs to, just to add that extra bit of spectacle. It's just so good.
Real quick for me, I have to give it to Kirby Star Allies again.
Oh, yeah.
My gosh, you love
yes,
the game.
I love Kirby, okay? I have a Kirby hat.
It is very shiny, I have to say. I played the demo. It is so shiny.
It reminded me a little bit of Woolly Epic... I want to say Epic Yarn. That's Kirby Epic Yarn.
World.
The Kirby art style reminded me of that, and how, you know, just childlike innocence that Kirby has, despite, you know, having the power to destroy everything in existence somehow.
And being the only one that could survive the attacks of Gleam and World of Light, so...
Yeah, exactly.
OP Kirby. Yeah, so good stuff. That's a good choice. That's a good choice.
Mine is either Okami, because, of course.
Of course.
Or Pokemon, because Also, of course.
I
love the
Fair
graphics
enough.
in the new in Let's Go. They're so just nice.
Yeah, it's so wholesome, right? Everything seems so pleasant and rounded and fun.
And I like all the little details, like the posters and the pictures hanging in people's houses.
Yeah. The fact that every painting is different is really cool.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
That's a good pick. That's a really good pick.
For me, it's kind of a little bit of a toss-up too for me. I have to put Octopath on here because just that such a unique art style. The fact that they actually made my favorite genre of art, this like, you know, these pixel like 16-bit graphics, made them this HD and made them feel like they belong on a current day console is just like a dream for me. Like that's just the world I want to live in.
Yes, I really liked Octopath for that too.
Yeah. And the other end though is Valkyria Chronicles. Just the way it looks so pencil drawn, the steampunk World War kind of setting. It's so beautiful, yet it's still trying to recreate one of the most like atrocious times in history that were actually really ugly. You know, that's kind of what steampunk does. It adds beauty to something that should have really been pretty ugly. So it just really nice pencil work in there.
I love the difference of priorities in what to look for in graphics here between, you know, JVKC and then me and Ren. You two are like, oh, look at this like super unique, like different style of thing going on over here. And then Ren and I are like, oh, this is nice.
Favorite stories?
So I was racking my brain for a story, and you know, one of my most repeated quotes is that you don't play this for the story, and I don't think I played any game that had a meaningful story.
You really don't play games for the story.
I don't play games for the story. I play for the game. So yeah, I'm pass on this.
Okay.
For me, it was the game itself is Starlink, but it wasn't the main story of Starlink that really intrigued me. It was that I can't remember the character's name.
Shade?
No, not Shade. The scientist lady who starts helping you out at the beginning.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't remember her name.
This is gonna be spoilers, but I kind of have to talk about it
a little bit.
At a certain point, she kind of turns out to be slightly crazy.
Oh,
and she wants to take Judge to, you know, she wants to kidnap him and use him to destroy the Legion all across the galaxy. Like, surprise.
Okay.
The thing is, the details she goes into about her own backstory while she's on her evil rant get super interesting in a background level, and I want a whole separate game where I get to see things from her perspective from those past events, like what this was like, and then I want to see maybe a spin-off title in the future, like what might have happened if she actually had gotten her hands on Judge and done what she wanted to do. That whole situation going on behind the scenes of what Starlink was about really got me more interested than what was actually happening in Starlink.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, like some side characters can really get to you more than main story
and
characters.
she presented the single most challenging fight in the game.
Good.
Yes.
Deserved.
Rin, what do you got?
I would say Octopath Traveler, but I haven't actually finished it. So
That's fair.
So far so good with that one. But my favorite story I think is going to be Undertale, since that actually came out on Switch
of course.
this year.
Excellent.
I
absolutely.
love Undertale.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go into
still
it
haven't
because I
gone
don't
to
want to
it.
give any spoilers at all, because you do not want
Excellent,
spoilers for that game if you haven't played it
Yeah.
yet and you plan to. But yeah,
I feel like you want to go into that game as fresh as possible.
definitely.
Yeah. For me, I'll just say, I mean, obviously, I have to go with the game I just did a 3-hour podcast on, Will, A Wonderful World. It's the only game of the year I can honestly say made me cry on multiple occasions, and
if you want to hear more about this, this topic, check out our Switch Topics episode. If you're a Patreon backer, that's patreon.com/theswitchcast.
Excellent plug. But parlaying into that, favorite main character or favorite characters in any of your games, really quickly, who had some favorites out there?
So my favorite character of a game that was released this year is Mega Man.
Okay.
Mic drop. I'm done. That's it.
Dave?
I sort of got maybe 2 or 3. I have a hard time picking favorite characters, okay?
Yeah, you have a lot of favorite characters.
I want to put Kirby on the list just because it's Kirby. I can't justify it because all he ever does is yell. There's not a ton of character going on there, but it's Kirby.
Okay.
One of the other picks would be, I know Bayonetta came out on a previous console and everything, but Bayonetta for the Switch came out this year. She's just such a fun character on so many levels that I do have to list her down here.
Yeah, she's very sassy. She's very confident, and while she is a mature character that
not for kids.
Yeah, that has like revealing moments and has a bit of nudity to it. She's a very empowering character that I feel is a really good way to portray a sexually empowered female.
I mean, thanks for taking all my points, but okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, really. Rin, do you want to take any points away from JV or just say your own character?
I'm just gonna say my own characters. I'm probably Amaterasu from Okami.
Oh, nice.
Even though she doesn't really have any lines, she still has a lot of character. And
a lot of emotes.
And Waka, also from Okami, who has a lot of lines, and he's very over the top, but he also has some interesting backstory to him. So
okay, I'm going with Turing from Read Only Memories. Turing is this little robot who is basically like the first AI, or one of the first actual AIs developed in this world, and he's kind of trying to develop a personality or who he wants to be from scratch. And it's just really interesting to watch him grow as he's develop. He's not just your typical Data style, I'm an android or whatever, and I just talk logically. He's all I don't know, for some reason, I like to paint, and I also don't know how to use computers very well. I thought that was a really charming aspect that he's not good with computers.
Boo.
He's so adorable, and I keep using this word he, but he even questions I don't really interesting topics am I a boy? Should I call myself that? Do I get to choose my own gender? Does that even matter? The whole game is very heavily on topics like that, like how
gender
people
identity and
people defining it, and all sorts of pretty interesting social identity topics like that, and they're all embodied in him in a very interesting way. And man, he has some good endings in that game. I'll just say that. There's 4 all different endings, and man, he warms my heart in all of them. So
I think Casey won this category.
yeah.
I feel like I won with Mega Man.
No, Justin.
Oh, okay.
Characters you most despise.
David?
Levi
from Starlink?
Yes.
That's your pick?
Yes.
That's my pick too.
Starlink and Kirby are popping up a lot for me.
Yeah, well, Levi is the absolute worst. He's the typical punk bro kid that likes making YouTube videos of whatever he's doing and is a total idiot, and I hate that.
It's some CEO's concept of what kids are into these days, and it makes me so infuriatingly frustrated.
Yeah, he's that annoying character for the sake of being annoying, and all the other characters in Starlink find him annoying. Not
waste of intellectual property.
Not good. There we go. Character, Levi, go away.
Character I hate the most this year. He ruined, I think, 2 games in which he was part of the title. The neighbor from Hello Neighbor is the most irritating, ridiculous. He has the backstory. I guess he's kind of interesting in that, but his presence in the gameplay ruins his game and made it unplayable after a certain point. So yes, the neighbor is my icon of just people I hate in games.
Do I have a character I most despise? Hyper Monsters from Monster Hunter. Frickin' hate those guys.
Okay. Which ones?
Hyper Monsters?
Just all of them.
Just the whole hyper category is such a pain in the butt.
For being super unfair.
All right, so you know what? We've had a lot of fun. The final category for today is going to be, what's the game you're most anticipating in 2019?
Ooh.
There's a lot.
I can think of 2 standout choices right now.
So, what's your pick?
It's either going to be...
No, pick one.
No.
Pick one.
It's either going to be a new main core Pokemon game or Metroid Prime 4.
All right, Metroid Prime 4. Why are you excited about that one?
Because it's Samus, and she's back, and she's going to be on the Switch, and I'm losing my mind right now. I can't talk.
Yeah, it's true. Like a Nintendo-based first-person shooter or first-person adventure shooter, like Metroid, is revolutionary.
Metroid is a first-person shooter, yes, but it has so much more substance to it as a franchise, and I'm just waiting for that to be on a modern console now.
Definitely. I mean, the GameCube games still look...
Yes, they do, and I could sit here and talk for hours about how good Metroid Prime 3 was it was the game that I think made the best use of the Wii controls, in my personal opinion.
Definitely. Now, for me, the game I'm most anticipating in 2019, the Fire Emblem game. I don't think it has an official title, but
they just call it like the Three Houses or something now.
Yes, right? Fire Emblem. Just the way they really scaled Fire Emblem so that each individual unit represents a pseudo-army, a squad.
Yeah.
And each encounter really feels like a battlefield now. And I am just excited to see how they handle... Oh, no, scratch that. I remember Daemon X Machina, Game of the Year 2019.
Oh,
that's
okay,
right.
high five.
Yes. Robots.
Done.
I'm changing my pick.
Forget Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem sucks. Get Daemon X Machina.
I want my Armored Core back, and that's what this is.
Yeah, high five. Okay.
That's our first physical high five on the show. Go ahead.
Yeah, because you're gonna actually high five for once. Anyway, my pick is Pokemon, of course, and Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah,
of course.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I was gonna say Pokemon myself, but I just played one, so I'm not super hyped right now. But I'll
You
get
don't really
there
like
eventually.
Pokemon.
Oh, I am, because I stopped playing my Animal Crossing Town on my 3DS like back in 15 now? And it's one of those things where you get the itch to play again, but that you remember about how much time has passed, and if you go back now, all of your stuff is going to be ruined.
all the weeds are going to be everywhere. Don't
The
want to pluck
weeds,
that.
the cockroaches.
Ooh, that's the worst. But honestly, now that we have as booming a community as we do now, Animal Crossing is going to be great. I feel like being able to visit people's towns and see all the interactivity on the Switch, that's going to be a really good time.
I can't wait.
No, I'm Animal Crossing's my pick also, because as I said, right now I'm still like I have fresh Pokemon gaming in my system, so I'm not like craving the next game yet. But after talking to Mayor Chewy on the podcast last week, where we had a whole segment just kind of like talking about this game's potential, there's so many things jumping around in my head about what it can do on the Switch and what this means. And yeah, again, like you said, JV, having the community already built in of people that I know I'll be able to visit and do events with is, it's just packed with joy. Just packed with joy.
Here's the thing. David is skeptical of Animal Crossing.
What?
Can you guys really quickly explain the appeal of Animal Crossing to David?
You can't explain its appeal.
Wait, come here. Say it.
I
Say
just
it again.
don't get why it's fun. Like, I get that people find it fun. I just don't know why.
Back when I was in college was when the first Animal Crossing came out on GameCube. And my roommate was watching me play it one day, and she was like, "How is this fun? All you're doing is pulling weeds. All you're doing is fishing. How is this fun?" And I'm like, "You don't understand." And a few years later, it came out on the DS, and she got it on the DS, and she messaged me on Facebook. And she goes, "I understand now."
I guess I'll try it when it comes out. It's just...
you really can't explain why it's good. It's one of those games that's like, well, why do you want a game that's just another job and responsibilities? But it's like, it's almost like a Zen garden. It's a thing that you just enjoy cultivating, not just the landscaping, the characters. And I think, like I said, the thing that this new game is going to do that will make it more interesting than anything else, elevate above the others, is the fact that with Nintendo doing so many mobile-inspired type of things, and the way they're doing events now, events that are going to be synchronized based on server, not just your individual game, are going to let us share in more things simultaneously. Like, we can have Christmas events that everybody's going to be sharing in. Or we can all do joint things together that are surprise events or even different every year, planned by Nintendo, that I think we're all going to be able to enjoy at a higher level than any of the previous games.
Nice.
It's kind of like a city sim mixed with a collecting sim. And since it's Animal Crossing, a lot of the collectible items in there span like the entire Nintendo franchise. So if you mix that with all of the multiplayer interactivity and the real-time events that happen, that's kind of a lot of the appeal of Animal Crossing.
I think if there would be any reason for me to keep playing an Animal Crossing game once I got started, it would be the ultimate goal of eventually having the maximum house that could never be forcefully upgraded by Tom Nook ever again. And you could just tell him to go sit in a corner and think about what he's done.
Now, one of the cool collectibles that you can get in Animal Crossing is an R-Wing statue that actually flies around and
I remember
interacts.
one of my friends having that,
Yeah,
and he was so proud of it.
That's the thing. Collectibles in Animal Crossing have a rarity because it comes up in real time. So that's part of the appeal. So that's one of the things that is, a very anticipated game. And I totally forgot about it. So thanks for reminding us, Rin.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, that is our episode for this week. I think we have to write it. We wrote down even more topics, but you know what? We went pretty long as is. I think it's a pretty packed episode. And
considering we have 4 people and we're all talkers and we love just hanging out and talking.
Double the usual opinions.
It's the 100th
We can talk
episode. We
forever.
can afford to go a little over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you guys want to join the conversation, don't forget to join us on our social media and our Discord chat, and you can chat us up because we still don't stop talking even off the air. So you can have fun with that.
I definitely want to say thank you to Rin and David for joining us in this episode, who knew that we could actually get everyone together without the world exploding.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do this again in maybe another 100 episodes. Who knows?
And thank you all the listeners who've been with us for all this time, especially those of you who are going through every episode. Like, I still don't get why people who find the show go back to number 1 and have to listen to everything chronologically before they listen to the new episode.
To be fair, I actually kind of do that. When I listen to podcasts...
If you've worked your way up from episode 1 to this episode, congratulations. I need to give you like a special achievement of some sort for doing all that.
Yes,
And,
let us know if you've gone through the whole collection, and we will congratulate you personally on the Discord chat.
And until next time, everybody.
Switch it up.
Thanks for listening. You can support the SwitchCast by visiting us at patreon.com/theswitchcast and join the review crew by rating us and subscribing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Also check out our Discord chat where we have an enthusiastic bunch of Switch fans in a family-friendly environment. Also join our Facebook group for daily discussion and quite a bit of activity towards the Switch itself.
You can also contact us directly via email at kc@theswitchcast.com and jv@theswitchcast.com. Talk to us on Twitter at theswitchcast.
Thank you, HeatleyBros, for the theme music. And check us out on our website at theswitchcast.com, where we will post all relevant links and show notes.
Promotional considerations provided by publishers in the form of review copies of games.
Yoshi's Woolly... I can't talk today.
Yes,
you know what I'm trying to say.
Yoshi's Woolly World.
Let's just move on. I butchered this too badly.
Yoshi's Woolly World. What
Yes.
about it?